Welcome to Trial by Wine. We take a closer look at crimes that highlight how fascinating humans can be. Schmitty, Swanny and Clarkey visit crimes and run them through their jury of three, debating both sides of the case to agree an appropriate, if totally fictitious, sentence. Please be advised, Trial by Wine may include explicit or disturbing content and will include drunken rambling. Listener discretion is advised. All right, how are we?
Very well.
Very well, yes. Grace, you?
Good, very good. Yes. Any news?
The last little while, no.
No. Just had a
No
little break
news.
in between stories. Boys look like they've had a snack when they're finishing it off.
Chocolate, yum.
Delicious.
I had a terrible
Nothing
situation
there.
last night where I'd eaten well all day, and then I found, because I'd forgotten I'd bought them, I'd bought a huge bag of dairy milk, like small chocolate mini eggs.
Mm.
And I just went at it for I don't know, and
Yes.
disgusting, I don't know, an hour. A big volume of small chocolate
They're
eggs.
delicious.
They are, but, I think they're probably enough for a trip for an egg hunt, not for one person.
There's a lot going on in the world right now, and Paul told us a new word, fibrillate, something of fib. Do you remember the word of the day that you told us some time ago, which is rocking in the corner? That's what it meant.
Yeah.
Something with fibrillation in it, because I thought it was to do with an arm or something. Anyway, eating lots of chocolate eggs has probably got a similar kind of psychology behind it, which is, I'm just going to do this because why not? The world could end tomorrow. I'm going to eat a bag of eggs as opposed to a bag of dicks.
Not wasting these eggs if the world
I was going to
does
say,
end tomorrow.
I'm sure from a calorie point of view, it would have been better off on the dicks, but anyway.
Protein.
Yeah. I've got my That's another thing where they talk about, which makes me laugh all the these things like how much protein you're supposed to eat every day.
What did you call it? The manosphere?
Manosphere, they call it. It's not something I've come up with, trust me. Yeah.
Oh, is it not just another version of an incel? A guy just
It's part
can't
of all
get
of that.
a girlfriend.
I think it's the wider piece.
Has
which
to
is
hate.
how there is this environment, particularly targeting and aimed at younger men who are, coming up through the ranks and feeling disenfranchised by whatever it is, and they're just collecting them along the way, and they call it the manosphere. Yeah. I suspect old mate, forgot his name already, but
Christy.
Would have been
100%.
fully fledged card carrying member of the manosphere of his day.
I was surprised, like you, that he had a
Could
wife.
you imagine if the manosphere was a pub?
Oh, I wouldn't want to go there though.
Oh, no, not today.
There's probably plenty of them that
still
are.
not today. Do you want to come in? It's half-price drinks. No, thanks.
There's a guy, I don't know his name because I'm terrible with these things, but I think he's from Brisbane, and you've probably seen him, Swanny. He's the opposite. He just listens to these and then he rebuts them.
Oh, yeah, I don't, but I've seen people who
he's very articulate, and he's, the more you watch it, the more you want to shag him. You think, oh, he's a bit of all right. And it's mainly because he's just
alive or dead?
Alive generally, but he's just being a decent man.
Yeah.
He's just a decent person talking about decent views, and you think suddenly he's become very attractive, even though I probably wouldn't go for his type normally, as opposed to these gym junkie blokes carrying on, and you think there's nothing substantial about you. You're revolting. Anyway.
There's some very funny parodies of them. There's a guy who I follow who's a Kiwi. I think he's gay. He's very funny, a comedian, and he does a lot of, and he does these things. So there's a filter over his face, and he does like this voice, like he's good, like in the manosphere or whatever, and he's talking about all these. He ticks off this list of how much protein he's eaten, how he's lifted weights, how he's been up since 4 a.m. and does this workout and all that. It's just to make light of how ridiculous these things are. They say, and at the end it's like, and you can be too if you just subscribe. It's all just a money-making, or a lot of it's just money-making venture kind of thing.
True. Yeah. All right. I suppose we should introduce ourselves. I'm Schmitty.
I'm Swanny.
I'm Clarkey, and together we are
Trial
by
Wine.
And what are we drinking?
I've moved on to a
water of some variety. There it is. Soda stream with some electrolytes or something in it.
Yeah, something like that. Hydrolyte or something.
Yes, hydrolyte,
something like that. Yes,
delicious. Yes,
not really, but anyway.
No, I don't really like the taste of them, but they're good for you.
I bought it upstairs alongside with my Coke Zero. My Coke Zero is now complete, so I'll finish
complete.
Right. It is complete. What have you got
I've
there?
gone off the Aldi Binger, and this is a 4 Pillars Bloody Shiraz Gin and Tonic.
Oh, nice.
I wanted to tell you that downstairs in our house, or not downstairs, in our house, we've got this sort of bar area. The day just happened to look across at an angle that I don't normally look at,
And
and
you
there
saw
it
there
is,
was a
4 Pillars,
Pillars?
Navy Strength. And I went, that's the one Schmitty's
Naval
always talking about. It's been in our house the whole time. And I've just never clocked
the
it.
naval strength one that I drink
Naval
is the
or Navy?
naval strength, what Navy?
Belly
sure.
button, I think it
Belly-
is.
Naval's an appropriate
I think I was in
term.
the Naval Strength chocolate eggs last night.
Yeah. That's the James
Love
May
it.
one, but
Yeah.
I think I've had the 4 Pillars one, and it's good.
Yeah, there you go.
Boys, what about you? Are you still on the...
So, no, we were having a sparkling water until you
Yeah.
mentioned the vitamins that that Swanny might have in hers.
Yes.
And it reminded me that I needed to have a magnesium before bed.
Delicious.
So I've just whacked a magnesium in. So now it's this horrible but
You'll be asleep
delicious
shortly.
lemony flavoured.
Gross.
I
can't
just have
stand them
magnesium supplements,
in tablets.
capsules. Yeah.
Same. I cannot drink it. It's foul.
I've never even known that you could. What's that product
It's
called?
like a lemon.
Mag.
Voos. It's called.
Voos.
It's from. Yeah, you just get it down at the Manosphere.
Yeah.
Store Chemist Warehouse would like to sponsor us. You can contact us at trialbywine@gmail.com.
Or just
if-
talk to my mum when she's in later today. If she hasn't already been, because she's there every day.
Every day.
Yes, she's a patron. I was there today
Patron saint of Chemist Warehouse.
I was getting this product. It's called Tough Hands Intensive Skin Repair, and
I don't think you'd want tough hands, do you?
No,
No, it's
that
the
sounds
opposite.
like
It's for tough hands. It's for hands.
Really?
I've got terrible dermatitis currently.
Glad we cleared that up.
What did you think it was for? So that I could create tough hands?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't like
Yeah.
couldn't they got soft hands?
No,
or
that's what you need
Supple
down
hands?
the Manosphere. Tough hands.
tough hands.
I was at Chemist Warehouse discovering do-its.
Where was that?
Tough
Chemist
hands.
Warehouse.
That was at Chemist Warehouse today.
Yeah.
Tough
Yes.
hands.
Why pay this one at Chemist Warehouse our price? I think that's a good point.
Absolutely. Why would you? Anyway, yeah. All right, Swanny. Do you want to tell us a story?
Yes, I do. I do have a story to share with you. My sources are the Irish Times, abc.news.com, A Deadly American Marriage, which is a...
Not in the Indigenous Australian sense.
What?
Deadly.
Oh, sorry, no, I didn't
it's
get
like
that
really good.
I don't hear that very often,
Yeah.
but yes, when I do, I always go, oh, that feels weird to me still. I'm not used to it. It takes a bit of warming to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a couple of things. I feel like I was away for the introduction into sort of common, parlance, whatever else, of mob and deadly.
Yeah.
And it took me a little while just to go, oh, that's the way we talk. So Deadly American Marriage, yeah. And it's a documentary on Netflix that was released last year. And I'll give you my views on it later. I didn't love it. Anyway.
So it didn't get a 9 out of 10.
Left
Rotten
me
Tomatoes.
it left me with a bit of a taste in my mouth, but I will come on to that and the reason why I found
a little bit of
that
bile.
to be the case.
A little bit
yes.
of sick. Right.
And it wasn't because it was brilliant. It was because there was some question marks there. Anyway, so I'm going to take us in the Time Wine Machine back to November of 2000, and we're in Limerick Island.
Been there.
Oh.
I had the
Have you?
best time. I was told not to go to Limerick. I did this before I
Why
left
didn't they want
the
you
UK.
there?
No, not well.
Do not go to Limerick.
I had the best time there. So because it's rough apparently, and I didn't have that experience of it. But I did this solo trip around Southern Ireland. And I said I was going to Limerick, and people said, no, don't go there. It's a bit rough. But I went there, and that's where I met Patrick, the taxi driver. And I was in the worst hotel. I was in this shitty hotel where I had to go and buy my own bottle of Domestos to clean the bathroom. It was so gross. And I went downstairs and I said, where can I get something nice to eat? And the waitress said, well, here. And she was wrong. Anyway, then I was like, oh, I can't stand this. I've got to get out of here. And then I was loitering around trying to work out how to get out of there because I wanted to go somewhere and have a drink. And I came across Patrick, and Patrick's like, do you want me to take you somewhere? And he was an old man. I was like,
Yes.
This is
yeah.
like
Out
the
of
beginning
fear.
of a trial by wine story. If I'm
No.
honest.
I mean, but it could have been, but it didn't go that way. Anyway,
Thankfully.
he takes me into town. He goes, what do you want to do? And I said, just some authentic music and, a bar, something. That'll do me.
Some good crack,
And it was-
please.
Well, I didn't say good crack because, Same reason I'm not sure if I should use
The word
mob and deadly, right? It's not my words, right? Anyway, I get there and he pulls up in front of this place and there's two buildings and he did this quintessentially Irish thing. He said, now you see that door there? You see that one? And I'm like, yeah. You don't want that one. I'm like, why not? Because it's the wrong door. You want the left door. Like, why are you even pointing out the right door if that's the wrong door? You know, you don't want that. It was so like something out of a film.
You want to know what's behind there.
And there was nothing interesting behind it. It was just the wrong door. So anyway, I went into the correct door and it was this local pub. Great time. I got so shit-faced on, what do you call it? The only time I've ever drank Guinness and enjoyed it. Yep, only time I've ever had it. Then I walked up to the barman because Patrick had gone in and said, give him my card and tell him when you want to come home to call me. And I walked up to the man and said, it's time for me to go home. Can you call Patrick, please? And he did. And Patrick shows up 10 minutes later and takes me back to the hotel, which I would have had no idea how to get to. It was the best time in Limerick.
We're going to go from Schmitty's fabulous time in Limerick to a death in Limerick.
To Patrick. You don't want that one.
So in November of 2006, there's a young family, Jason Corbett and his wife, Margaret Fitzpatrick, who goes by the name of Mags. And they have two small children, in fact. Mags.
It's Fitzpatrick.
And they're very happily married, beautiful young family. They've got a son called Jack and a little baby girl called Sarah. And very, very sadly, Mags has an asthma attack. And Jason, the husband, tries to save her at home. She's got her prescribed salbutamol, or what do you say it? Salbutamol inhaler. Yeah, Ventolin. I don't know if that's a Ventolin or a special one.
Probably.
But she's got she must have like quite serious asthma anyway. He gets her to the University Hospital in Limerick, where sadly she passes and he's devastated. And
as he would be.
As I said, he's got
just ease us into the story.
This is not the story. This is not the story.
It's tasty.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just setting the scene.
And it's not even a murder yet. Murder.
No, this is just I didn't even know that this was part of the story, to be perfectly honest. It's interesting because with the story that I'm about to tell you, it has been sort of on my radar for quite a while. And I think sometimes something's on our radar because visually it looks a certain way. So the media like to jump onto something and it's shared. And I've always sort of been kind of aware of it, but not ever really entertained it and wanted to go and look at it because I always sort of thought, I think I know what it's about. I think I know what that's about. As it turned out, I didn't. But I know why, from an image point of view, and we'll get on to that, why it piques the media's interest and why the wider public would be interested. So this is not the bit that the wider public would be interested in. Trust me. This is just a very sad situation where there's a family tragedy. But what it does leave is a single father. And so Jason Corbett is in his probably early 30s at this point, and he's got two very young children. So as I said, he's got Jack and Sarah, and Sarah is only months old at this point. And he likes to go to the graveside. He leaves letters that he's written to Mags, and he's totally bereft, but he's finding it very difficult to grieve while being a full-time, single parent and having to work every day. So he's sort of just doing his best to keep the little family together and sort of marching on. He does get to a point where he thinks, look, I need some help. So he advertises for an au pair. And I swear at this point, everyone goes, oh, here we go. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Here we go.
Yeah. And it's at this point that we are introduced to a young 20-something girl by the name of Molly Martens. And Molly Martens is not Irish, and nor is she in Ireland at the time. She's actually in Tennessee in the US.
She's like every American on the tour bus when I first did a tour of the UK. I'm sure she could trace her ancestry to Ireland or Scotland or Wales with a name like Molly Martens.
Molly Martens,
and she'd come in going, oh, my family come from here, Anyway.
She probably would have. So my
ancestors were Scottish,
the US, early 20s, and she's been in a relationship and she's found herself pregnant, and then she goes on to miscarry. So based on that, the relationship dissolved. She doesn't really want to be with this guy anymore. It all kind of plays out, and she thinks, you know what, I need to get away. I'm ready for an adventure. I think I'm ready for the next part of my life. And it's when she sees an advertisement where she sees Jason, single dad who's...
Have you been watching too much American shit?
Who, me?
We call them advertisements here.
What do I call it?
Advertisement.
Oh, God, sorry. I didn't...
Paul and I both went, advertisement?
That's not even a word, advertisement.
Wow.
I don't even know where I've got that from.
America. An ad. Yeah.
An ad. That's what I would have normally said. Anyway, she sees this ad that Jason Corbett has posted, and it really piques her interest, and she thinks, oh, my God, these poor babies without a mummy. Do you know what? I think I'd be great at that. And it turns out that Molly has 2 younger brothers who are significantly younger than her, so that when they were born, she was sort of very much old enough to help take care of them. And her own parents sort of describe her as being someone who is very good
very maternal.
At engaging children, and very maternal. So
was she devastated at the loss of her own child as well?
No, at that point. She was very young. I don't think a miscarriage is something that I've ever made light of. But no, I don't think it is at this point something that needs to be totally laboured on. That choice of words.
We don't have to dwell on it.
Yeah, we don't have to dwell on it.
It's not an indication of a psychological state.
Yeah. So she reaches out to Jason and she gets the gig. And by all accounts, as she arrives, she's got... Jack is at this point 3.5 years old, and little Sarah's now 18 months.
Cutie wooties.
And she says that she sort of, she thought these little children must be, aching in the sense that they didn't have a mother anymore, and she thought she could really fill that gap. So she arrives to work in Limerick, and by all accounts, she's incredible. Like, the kids adore her, and she is brilliant at engaging them and making them feel loved. And the little girl, Sarah, very quickly starts calling her mum. So they have this sort of situation where, as Molly says, they were calling me, or certainly Sarah was calling me mum before I even felt like their mum. It was all just sort of starting to come together. And it was, by all accounts, quite a magical kind of connection where Jason's family could see.
So it's not weird. No, we're okay with this.
Yeah, we're okay. That Molly's
how old's he and how old's she?
She's in her 30s and she's in her 20s and he's in his early-ish 30s.
Not a big age difference.
No. But they're very. It's significant. Like, if you see photographs of them as a family together, and this comes back to why something is so. Why the media jump onto it in a way. Like, she's a petite, attractive, blonde American in Limerick with a bit of a dad bod, great bloke, but he's not like
I can picture it. Yeah, I actually can picture it.
Yeah, you can picture it. But the children are beautiful.
It's the children.
The children are gorgeous. And it's interesting because the little girl is very fair when she's young, and she could pass as being her daughter. They don't look wrong together. You just think, he must have a bit of dosh, or she got,
he's punching above his weight.
He's punching above his weight.
She's got,
that's it.
Or has she got? He's got 2 beautiful children that she falls for. Is that?
No, I'm not talking about what actually is happening. I'm just saying, if you're just simply looking at that image, you would go, wow.
Or he's got a massive dick and he knows how to use it.
Yeah.
That
didn't even cross my mind. Or she knows how to use it. Yeah. So life in Limerick is, by all accounts, really pleasant, and a relationship starts to form between Molly and Jason. And his family describe it as, they're in situations and they'll be walking along a beach and the pair of them sort of start to hang back and they see little signals between them. And
romantic.
Everyone's actually really quite happy because Mags's death was such an incredible shock.
Awful.
And it really, Jason didn't, he plummeted to the depths of despair with these 2 very, very young children. So the fact is, Sarah doesn't remember her real mum because she was too young. There's just no one.
It's a win for everyone.
Yeah, kind of. So Jason's really happy. He's smiling again. And, the way that she described her role is, she said, I just felt like I brought joy to everybody's life. And I suspect she did, because in the end, Jason and Molly fall in love. And the kids feel like they've got a new mother. And, everyone in their sort of circle, their family, they see that this is a really positive thing, actually, and that maybe there's a chance that the family will heal and be able to have another life, as it were. Not with Mags, but even Mags's parents, Mags's family were very supportive and said Mags would not have wanted him to be unhappy on his own with such small children. She'd want them to be loved and adored and for him to be happy as well. So,
But then,
well, a little bit. Molly is...
But wait, there's more.
There's a little bit.
However.
And Jason does have reservations, and there are emails that say that, he just needs to be sure. He's sort of saying, I just want to slow it down a little bit because my fear is that my kids have been through so much already. If you and I don't work out, it'll be like losing another mother for them. So I just want to be a little bit cautious. I don't want to lose you, but my children have to be my first priority.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
He is just trying to keep things a little bit steady, but Molly is very keen to put labels on, and she really wants a validation for their relationship.
Mm.
And as time goes by, things are so strong that they decide that they will start a new life, and that he surmises that if he does start a life with Molly and they commit to one another, then he will give his children that life of having a mother and a father. And they look at moving to the US. And they do that because they think, look, it gives him a new start. He can get a great job over there. He's in paper packaging management.
So he worked in...
I don't know what...
It's just making me think of The Office.
The Office, yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Stanton.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I've never watched the US one, but yeah. Oh, is it you're talking about the UK one?
No. They were in Slough for
Slough,
the
yeah,
UK
you're right.
one.
Yeah. So
Slough.
although she was from Tennessee, they moved to North Carolina. And when they get to North Carolina, they end up living in this house that is what I call it's that American dream where they're not that expensive, but it looks like a mansion. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things at the moment they have a natural disaster, or like when
it'll
they have
fall down,
or it burns down because it was made out of plywood.
Paper.
Like it's crazy. Like I don't know. It just reminds me of that. So
I've seen them in a lot of TV shows where you think it's just really implausible that those characters are living in their house.
Like
but
that.
That's what you mean. They're like almost prefab, like just...
Double story? Is it like one of those huge
Totally.
ones?
Yeah.
They look
I know that one.
amazing. But I don't know about you two, but sometimes when we do these crimes, I look up the property value of the place that I'm looking at. I'm often amazed at how cheap real estate is in the US.
That's right. That's what I'm sort of saying. It's this sort of like situation where they move to a place called 160 Panther Creek Court in Wahlberg, Davidson County, North Carolina. The image of this place when they send the drone over the top, it is like this beautiful sort of green rolling hills with forest beyond it in a neighborhood that has clearly been built in one go. It's not old, it's fairly recent.
It's an estate.
It is. I wondered and I looked it up and there was some that had golf courses nearby that was never mentioned, so I don't know if there was a golf course, but it looks very nice, very, very comfortable middle class. And what I could find was that the whole area is all very middle management, lots of people in sales and middle management. So it's, probably young families, retirees, not much in between, very white collar.
Yeah.
Not top of the notch, but again, a really lovely standard of living, a beautiful place. And these kids, so they've moved there in 2011.
They've gone from Limerick to that.
They've gone from Limerick and the grey.
And let alone the weather.
Yeah. And the way
just the weather
that Sarah describes it is she says, I could not believe our house. I thought it was a mansion. Our garden was so big that when we arrived, I remember Dad saying to us, you can have a trampoline in the yard and we can get a dog now. We can have this life, right? And that's why they moved there, for this lifestyle.
I totally understand that. I mean, you and I both lived in the UK. I still have a house there, which, by the way, if anyone would like to buy, let me know. But like, my courtyard, backyard, and that was a 3-story house, but that's a tiny little backyard compared to that. I mean, I don't have a huge backyard now, but I look at the palatial world that I live in now, and we get sunshine too.
Mm.
So, yes, I can completely see the difference.
It just seems a very sort of wholesome existence. And, they've moved into this neighborhood where, people are a similar age, young kids, and they're doing the cookouts and the barbecues and the street parties and all of that really American kind of, we're celebrating this, we're doing Halloween, we're doing that. And Molly is like this fabulous mum. The kids adore her, and she is a stay-at-home mum and does everything that she can. Yeah, trad wife. She's doing everything that she can for these kids. It's just,
I hope she's canning things.
it is so lovely. It's a really beautiful thing, and they aren't yet married, but they decide that they will get married. And there is footage that I've seen of the entire Irish cohort coming across for this wedding.
Beautiful.
And
it's just like my wedding.
Talk about good crack. It was a bit like that. They are so happy, and it's Jason and all his mates, his sister. So
beautiful.
It really is.
Over. It's a big deal. I experienced that for my wedding. Our wedding, we were all there. We all got married at once.
Yeah.
But with the West Country cohort, who, if we recall, in the wedding special, helped us do the recording.
Yes, of
gorgeous.
course.
Yeah,
and it was very much like that. So everyone was so happy. Jason was clearly over the moon, so happy to be able to share this new lifestyle with his own family who'd come over. They were so happy after the tragedy of losing Mags because, they were a close-knit, you could imagine, community or whatever else. It was the footage is really, really beautiful, actually. I think they were all pretty much on top of the world. What is important to note, though, is that throughout this whole exercise, Molly is fanatical about ensuring that she gets to adopt the children. And Jason is not keen to do that. And what he chooses to do is he chooses to get the children. They're there in the US under his, it says green card. I don't know if it's his green card or if they get their own, but he incorporates them being there with his job, not with her family, their marriage. Do you know what I mean? So his point is, should anything ever happen to me, they will go back to Limerick. They'll go back to the Corbett family. And he maintains that throughout, and he's very open about that. And she's very much
not happy about it.
It's almost like he's got the kids' best interests at heart.
Well, that's why he was doing. And this is at a point where there's no this is the whole way through. He's maintained this.
They're happy, yes.
I think I need to always have. They've lost their mother. If they lose me, they need to be able to go back to Ireland and be with our people, us. He
needs to move into the manosphere.
Yeah, and I don't.
They need to be where their genetic background is. I think it's the blood tie thing, and that can be very difficult for a stepmother.
But I also think he was protecting if something should happen to he and Molly together, that they wouldn't then stay in the US. So I think it was like, you'll just always go back to us where we are from.
I can understand that, though.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
I totally understand that.
Yeah. So they have the wedding. It looks fabulous, and life goes on. End of story. What I'm going to do now is just there's been
happily ever after.
Might be just one little bit at the end.
Apart from that one time when she killed him.
Yeah.
Anyway,
for the kids.
It's all picket fences and beautiful street parties, cookouts, all that.
American gorgeousness.
But along the way, there've been a couple of little seeds of doubt that have been planted. As I mentioned at the beginning, Jason's family really, really adored Molly, and they certainly had given her their seal of approval. But things had happened along the way where there were a couple of question marks, and Tracy Lynch is
a little small red flag.
Yes, there were a couple of
a cocktail Frankfurt,
who is
stick.
Jason's sister, said that it got to the point where she was like, she is a massive liar. She tells these sort of delusional sort of stories at times where she thinks people really believe that. So one of the things that she'd said was that she had been an Olympic swimmer. Things you can always get caught out on, right?
Her name was Kelly Lane.
Yeah. A qualified Montessori teacher, and that she had previously fostered a young boy. All of it, untrue.
All of it verifiable. Yeah.
But also
stupid.
A lot. How old is she now?
30.
Now she'd be heading towards that. She's probably a late 20s.
Heading to her 30s.
Yeah.
It's still a lot to have done. What did you say? Olympic swimmer?
Olympic swimmer. So this all had to have been done before she arrived, remember, at the... Yeah.
It's not just, I was really good at swimming. I could have been a contender. No, I was an Olympic swimmer. Bullshit you were. Yeah. Stupid.
She had told one of her friends that she had been a pen pal with Mags, who was Jason's first wife, and that they
Oh, okay. She's a
before she
stalker.
died of cancer.
She didn't die of cancer.
What?
Correct. So not only was it not true, she didn't die of cancer.
Unless
She
you
died of an
told me
asthma
the wrong
attack.
story.
No.
Yeah, okay.
No, she died of
right.
an asthma attack.
Is she trying to piss people off?
No.
No, she's trying to insert herself in everything.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah,
And
but Google the facts, love.
one point she was at a Bible study group actually it wasn't Bible study, it was a book club with the
She wasn't God
neighbours.
bothering, right?
And in that, meeting or whatever it was,
Session.
someone was talking about that they were newly pregnant or whatever else. And then Molly went on to give a very graphic and lengthy description of how difficult the labour with Sarah had been, as if she had given birth to
What?
Sarah.
Okay,
And the
she's not
people
well.
then knew that she was not the mother.
Well, she's not right. Yeah.
There were things like that were coming up. And then, and this is what is interesting, this was not mentioned in the documentary anywhere that I can recall, unless I missed it. It's kind of major. Molly had been diagnosed as bipolar. And in fact, before she went to Limerick, she had been in a psychiatric unit. And only weeks after that had she left and moved to the island to become the au pair. And, of course, didn't declare any of that. I don't know if you were supposed to or not. You'd think so,
Well,
but she didn't.
It would be nice if you were going to look after someone's children. But
Correct.
So when you started the story,
Yes.
her background at that point was that she'd had a miscarriage
Yes.
and moved on.
So I don't
What
even
was the period
know.
of time?
Don't really
between-
know.
Okay, so we don't know how, like
No.
2 years, a year, 2 minutes, yeah. Okay.
Within a year, I think, that whole thing.
Okay.
I got the impression the miscarriage, the breakdown, the relationship.
all
and
happened
then the
really
move-
fast and then put
But-
her in that maybe.
Yes, but that
trigger in that
psychiatric
state.
unit thing, I didn't get that same piece of information from Molly. Molly's sharing the information about that. No, she's not telling that. That's from a different source. And that's something that Jason Corbett's sister has shared.
Right.
Yeah. So she just sort of had erratic behavior from time to time. And what she would do sometimes with Jack in particular, Sarah was absolutely the golden child. And sometimes she would even exclude Jack by, everything was done with Sarah all the time. She was her best friend. She was her little mini me, the whole thing. And if Jack ever mentioned Mags, his, real mum,
She'd lose it.
correct.
Mm.
And she didn't tell certain people that, that she wasn't their natural mother. And one day Jack said that, something about his natural mother or that she wasn't his mother to a neighbour, and she absolutely cracked it. So it was very clear that, anything that came up about her not being their mother, their original mother, it was just such a raw nerve for her. She could not handle it. She was
Psycho
just
killer.
trying to assert all the time this, I'm their mother, I'm their mother, I'm their mother, I'm their mother. Like it was just crazy.
It's like me with Tony's kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind
Except completely
of the
different.
opposite.
No, not like me at all.
So, yeah, there are a couple of sort of red flags along the way. And from the outside, I think that most people just thought, here's another one of her stories or whatever else. So that woman's got some issues that are else. But it wasn't to play out that way. And on August the 2nd, 2015, a man called Thomas Martin, who is Molly Martens, Thomas Martens, it's got an S on the end. Thomas Martens calls 911 at 3 a.m. in the morning to inform them, rather calmly, that his son-in-law Jason has been badly injured.
Poor Jason.
Thomas Martens
Poor little dad bod.
tells the
calmly.
dispatcher that he had to intervene in a fight between Jason Corbett and his daughter Molly, and he may have killed him. Police responders
I didn't
arrive
see that coming.
at the Panther Creek court home, where they find Corbett unresponsive with serious head injuries that would later prove to be fatal. Both Thomas and Molly give statements to officers at the scene linking Jason's death to a domestic disturbance. They are both taken to the police station. What's it called? The police station?
The station.
The
yeah.
police station.
Taken downtown.
Top shop.
And
yeah.
interviewed. But from the outset, it's quite clear to anybody who is at the scene that what they're describing doesn't necessarily match up with what people are saying.
Yeah.
It is described as a bloodbath. And
Jesus.
one person asked, where is the gun? There is that much blood, but there was no gun used.
So he wasn't shot. He was just bludgeoned that much that it looked like he'd been shot.
Correct.
Far out. Fuck, that is so violent.
It was a very violent ending. And we learn that Thomas Martens is an FBI agent.
Ex-military?
FBI.
There we go, right.
And he is in the house when this happens. So although he and his wife live in Tennessee, they decided on a whim that afternoon to drive to visit their son-in-law and daughter.
Surprise.
Yes. And they
I
are
just brought this
staying,
fresh new baseball bat.
from what I can understand, it was like in a cellar, like down set of stairs.
Basement?
A basement. Yeah, a basement bedroom. And when it kicks off, they hear stuff kicking off. Thomas goes to investigate, and the mum hears the screaming, but then she rolls over and goes back to sleep. So then she doesn't, not aware of anything else.
I took
That
half
is
the rest of it, love. I
transpiring.
can't.
She just-
I can't keep my eyes open. Sorry.
Oh, just don't don't spill any more blood.
I took half the rest
I
of it.
don't
I'm
want to
fucked.
clean it.
Forget it.
To tell you what,
Shit.
in the police interviews a few hours after Jason Corbett's death, Tom Martens claimed that he'd been staying at the Corbett house when he was awakened by the sound of a disturbance in the master bedroom. He grabbed a baseball bat, and interestingly, this baseball bat he had taken with
Was
him.
it just fresh?
It
I
was.
just said, look
He'd
at this
bought
fresh
it.
baseball
He'd
bat.
bought it. He'd bought it for Jack, but hadn't actually given it to him when they arrived at
he
the house.
bought it for
And
a
they didn't
child.
get Sarah.
Repurposed it at the last minute.
No gift for Sarah, but that's
Oh, no,
known.
forget her. That's anyway, whatever.
He says that he grabbed the baseball bat and rushed to the bedroom, where he alleged he saw Corbett strangling Molly in their dark bedroom. After a struggle on the floor between the two men, Molly hit Corbett over the head with a paving stone, after which...
Sorry, in a bedroom? Why is there a paving stone in a bedroom?
She's had it there just in case.
It was on her nightstand. Anyway, I'll get into that. After which, Tom hit Corbett with the baseball bat several times. Investigating officers noted how Tom Martens, who was a law graduate from Emory University in Georgia, repeatedly emphasized his, in quotes, state of mind during his interview, possibly due to his legal knowledge that a successful self-defense plea
Yeah.
at any future trial would hinge on convincing the jury that he and Molly feared for their lives during the
Yep.
incident.
Some of the cases I've looked at on occasion, people aren't even prosecuted in any way. If the police, they don't even get charged. The police just say, oh, that was self-defense. Job done.
Yep.
It's extraordinary, the self-defense.
What could
thing.
go wrong?
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's extraordinary.
Do you know what I mean?
That it
Yeah, I
doesn't even
do.
get investigated.
No.
It's just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, okay.
You invite a friend over and kill him. Job done.
Yeah, he broke into my house. He wasn't my friend. What? And I think this is the thing where you're talking about someone who comes from a law enforcement background,
Yeah.
who knows exactly what
What he's
to
doing.
say.
Exactly.
Shit.
I've got lots to say about him. So during a separate interview, Molly admits to police that she had attempted to hit Corbett over the head with a brick during the same incident at their home.
Which she just happened to have in her
Which happened to
bedroom.
have, a paving, that was the name, a
Paving stone.
Yeah. In addition, Molly stated there had been a history of domestic violence. This is important in their marriage, that had resulted in her seeking medical assistance several times, although she did not inform the police or tell the hospital staff
Can't remember where.
how her injuries occurred.
Was there records of her being injured?
No,
Regardless of whether or not she told them how it
no,
happened.
I don't think so.
Right,
Molly also
right.
accused her husband
That's
of
right.
being,
She's a porcupire, isn't
being
she?
a heavy
Yeah.
drinker.
Truth stretcher.
And that he was
an
drunk.
unreliable historian.
And he was drunk when the fatal incident occurred a few hours earlier. So that's what they're saying. And very interestingly, the call that they made to the 911, they were on the phone for 14 minutes while the, police and ambulance sort of
Dispatch.
arrived. Yeah, they dispatched.
Blah, blah,
yeah.
yeah.
In those 14 minutes, he is really calm and really together, and they go through doing CPR. But what they notice, and because it's all recorded, the rhythm's out, no one's ever out of breath. They are pretending.
No
So
one's
you think
actually
he's
doing
dead
it.
before.
Yeah.
So he's already
Yeah.
dead by
Yeah.
the time they make the call.
And of course, when the teams arrive, he's cooler. His body temperature is far cooler
Then
than
you'd
they
expect
anticipated.
in the timing.
It's not,
yeah.
it
He's
doesn't
been dead
prove
for a
anything
while.
they think he might have been. And of course, some other people thought some things had been moved around.
Mm.
So on the day of Jason's death, his two children are interviewed by the North Carolina Union County Department of Social Services about their parents' relationship. And this is really important. Transcripts of their sessions recorded Sarah saying this, the little girl, he had anger management issues and that her dad is angry on a regular basis.
Because Molly told her to say
And
it.
she described a time when Jason pulled Molly's hair and smacked her in the face. Jack claimed to have witnessed his father physically assaulting Molly on previous occasions and said that his dad gets mad at his mum for no good reason. Right. Interestingly, just hours after the murder, and she'd been released from police custody, Molly Martens allegedly spent $5,500 on having her home industrial clean for all traces of blood. I'm not sure that she'd be allowed to do that anyway. And then she was desperately trying to have his body cremated.
That's a lot of money. I should go to the US and start doing
Clean up.
cleaning. I'm going to tell you.
Post-murder
should
cleans.
see what I managed to do with a steam cleaner the other day on a rug. Anyway.
Good forensic clean.
So she attempted to have his body cremated, and she was under this incredible time rush the whole time. So Corbett's family in Ireland find out, and the sister and brother-in-law, of course, race
immediately want
to North Carolina.
Coronial investigation.
When they're there, there's one, I think, 10-minute call that she allows to happen between their auntie and uncle and the kids. And after, I think they're there for 15 days, and she refuses to let them see Jack and Sarah. So Jack and Sarah are still with Molly at this point, and her mum and dad.
Being coached on what happened. Yep.
The kids would later go on to say, years later, that their family acted like nothing had really happened. They still had barbecues and enjoyed the sunny weather in the swimming pool. That Tracy claims that the Martens had hired off-duty police officers to prevent the Corbett family from even attending the memorial service. That was all you can't have anything to do with us. We don't, stay away kind of thing.
God, is that even legal?
Going back to
what about the visa status?
Yeah, so going back to 2007, Jason Corbett had created a will naming his sister Tracy Lynch and her husband as legal guardians of his children should he die, and he did not alter the will after he married Molly Martens. Yeah,
no.
A few days after Corbett's death, Molly Martens filed for custody of 10-year-old Jack and 8-year-old Sarah, whom she had raised as their sole mother figure for the previous 8 years, which is correct.
True. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Corbett's family arrived in the United States, they filed a legal challenge. And on the 20th of August, 2015, so a couple of weeks later, the authorities dismissed Martin's claim and handed Jack and Sarah into the custody of Tracy Lynch.
That is surprising.
Yeah, who promptly flew them back to Ireland.
Because we think that she and her father killed him.
Judge Brian Shipwash, who presided over the guardianship hearing, would later remark that Martin seemed to have a deranged entitlement to the children, and that he was shocked that the Department of Social Services had originally placed them in the custody after Jason's death. And he was also fearful that Martins might hurt them in some way. Therefore, his primary concern was that they would be returned to Ireland as soon as possible. And that did happen.
People who actually love them.
Yeah. There's footage. I mean, this was such a huge story in Ireland. You can imagine. Massive. So there's all this sort of TV footage or news footage of Jason's service in Limerick. So on the 26th of August, 2015, after a funeral service at Our Lady Queen of Peace Church in Limerick, Jason Corbett was laid to rest beside his first wife, Margaret Maggs Fitzpatrick, at Castle Mungret Cemetery.
How sad.
Around about the same time, or actually a few days later, Molly Martens, back in the US, has a car crash. She's in her brother's car and she crashes into a mailbox belonging to her parents' neighbours. So she must be in Tennessee. Witnesses rushed to help her and would later remark that she seemed totally out of it, like she had glassy eyes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she was banging on about her children being taken to Ireland. Her parents arrived at the scene and told them not to call the police. And they didn't need anyone to attend the crash.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Tom Martens looked after it all. He later funded the owner of the mailbox and it was all done without contacting the authorities.
Minimal fuss.
The man in black showed up.
For several months after the children's repatriation, Molly would use social media to try and get in touch with them, and she kept posting photos of the children on Facebook and sometimes including a US phone number and email addresses in the hope that they would get in touch with her. She was always trying to reach out. The Corbett family eventually sent a cease and desist letter to the Martens asking to refrain from posting images of the children on social media. Yes. In response to Martin's uncle claiming in a radio interview that Jason Corbett had been seeking dual Irish-American citizenship for the children, the Corbett family released a statement describing the claims as deluded propaganda adding their brother had never discussed such plans with them in the run-up to his death.
Mm.
In fact, the only
He'd done nothing but keep
the
the
only
kids-
discussions that had been had, and which leads us to believe this is why this all happened, was he was ready to leave. Their marriage had some severe issues, and her mental health, I think, was playing a big role in that.
Was he violent?
No, I don't think so. But I'll go on to some stuff that did happen because it was recorded. But I don't think that he was, personally. I think
But their marriage was
fraught.
come to the end.
It was.
She was a whack job.
She was definitely a whack job. But
She was unwell.
she was going to lose everything, right? If he went and said, I'm going back to Ireland, I'm not happy. They'd been at a party a couple of nights before this happened, and she was fat shaming him.
And we can't do that.
We can't do that.
We've established
she was.
You can call a person thick,
That's
but
out
you
of his
can't call
control.
them fat.
Yeah. Right. So where to now? So the trial,
To
I
hell
guess.
in a handbasket.
Absolutely.
The
One of my
trial.
favourite expressions these days.
So we've got Molly and we've got Sarah and Jack living with their auntie and uncle, who they, become their parents, and they already have sons of their own. And over time, they end up in this really quite beautiful family environment, and they go on to prosper. Do you know what I mean? I think that it was a nice situation, and they were really loved and looked after the absolute tragedy, because I know for a fact they said Sarah did not want to leave her mother, Molly, and Jack didn't particularly want to. That's what they knew. That wasn't like
she was only 18 months old when she came along. She probably wasn't even verbal, really. You know what I mean? Like, when did they start talking properly? About 2?
Yeah, less than that. I don't know. But in all of the research that was sort of done, what they find is that Molly had been certainly coaching the kids and planting seeds of doubt, like, your dad will do this, your dad's that. She was lining the whole thing up. And she went so far as she hid these recording devices around the house and on the car. To catch him. So what she would do is they were voice activated. So all the conversations, like in the kitchen, would be recorded. And the defense used, or tried to use, this sort of against him and for her. But the thing is, if you know you're being recorded, you are behaving and creating narratives that will work for you, correct?
Correct.
So the example that they give is, one of them that I've seen is, he's annoyed with her, the fact that he keeps saying, I wanted to have a family dinner. You've already fed the children. And I told you I wanted us all to sit down together. And she's like, well, the kids were hungry and I had to feed them. And if I had done something wrong, I'm so sorry. It's just in our
she's making
house.
it sound like she's a victim.
If you heard the conversations,
don't be angry with me, because I'm worried he's going to lose his.
And then he's like, you're being
does.
ridiculous. Stop setting this up. You're creating this division that doesn't need to exist. Stop doing this. I've asked you to do things. So when they turn it, they're like, he's controlling her. He's doing this. You can look at it both ways.
Yeah.
The defense and the things that they were looking into, that's one of the things I found utterly repulsive in the documentary, is like listening to the lengths that they were sort of going to. Everything
go to.
Exactly. And it just, I don't know, that there's just that really, I call it smiley, but that American kind of glossing over something that's really ugly, but everyone's so well presented, but they're digging for dirt and they will not stop. And there were just so many things like that I thought, oh God, that really does not sit comfortably with me at all.
And the man's dead. So he can't defend himself.
And I haven't told you about him yet, really. I haven't got into any detail. The trial of Molly and Thomas Martens began with jury selection in July 2017, so 2 years after the crime had occurred. Both accused entered formal pleas of not guilty to the second-degree murder of Jason Corbett, claiming that they had acted in self-defense. On July 25th, District Attorney Alan Martin described to the jury how Corbett had such serious head injuries that his autopsy could not determine exactly how many times he had been struck, adding that the post-mortem exam detected traces of trazodone in his bloodstream. Although Corbett had never been prescribed the powerful sedative, medical records proved that Molly had been issued a prescription for trazodone 3 days before he died.
So he drugged him.
Premeditated.
Martin attested that while Corbett's dead body was found naked and covered in blood, Neither of the Martens appeared to have any physical injuries.
The Martens.
Yeah. And when they are interviewed and you see the image of them, he looks like he's just walked off the golf course. He's so calm. He's got a pair of smart shorts and a polo shirt on, sits with his arms crossed. They have there's nothing on him. If you saw I've only seen the scene. I have not seen the pictures of his head, but apparently part of his skull had come apart, like it was separate. And, as some people have said, it's one of the worst things that they've seen or what in there, and there was blood everywhere. And so much of it was telling in terms of what had actually transpired, where it starts high, ends low, because he's falling to the ground. They're still hitting him, it was just been absolutely bludgeoned. Correct.
That poor
It was just a really very, 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 very violent end. Molly's voice was hoarse and she kept rubbing her neck. And in fact, what she was doing is there was nothing on her neck, because she was saying, remember, and the dad had said they'd got her own. When she was in the police vehicle, she apparently kept rubbing her neck. She's trying to create.
Like she's been strangled.
Yes. Yeah. She's probably being told by her dad. Defense lawyer David Freeman, acting for Thomas Martens, countered that the client had swung a baseball bat at Corbett in an effort to protect his daughter and himself, after he had discovered Corbett with his arm around her throat while saying, "I'm going to kill her, I'm going to kill her." In terms of the toxicology, etc., they had actually been at their next door neighbours the afternoon before. The guys had mowed the lawns together and they'd sat down and had a couple of beers around 3:30, with the wives joining them an hour or so later, and they continued drinking until about 8 p.m. when Molly's parents arrived for that surprise weekend visit. When they did the toxicology testing,
Can I ask? Yep. Sorry, do you think that the surprise visit wasn't a surprise? Do you think that this was premeditated?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, right.
That's only my opinion, though.
Except not from the mum, because she was on the rest of it, so she couldn't remember a fucking thing.
Oh, no, I suspect mum's being told to stay out of the picture would be my guess.
Mum's like, I'm just going to take my
come
drugs.
Up, stay down here. You don't see.
No worries. I'm going to take all my drugs. I don't even know what's going on.
There's nothing to even suggest that she was
plausible
on drugs.
Deniability.
She just was tired. She just went back to sleep. His body recorded a blood alcohol concentration of 20 milligrams of alcohol per 100 millilitres of blood, so it was only 0.2%, only a quarter of the legal driving limit in North Carolina, so he was not drunk.
0?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're higher than us.
0.5. 0.02, sorry.
Yeah, it's going to say.
We're 0.05, they're 0.08 is their limit, I think. Yeah.
But still under the limit, right?
But 0.02 is fine.
0.0.
Yeah, well under, even by our standards, yeah.
Davidson County Emergency Call Centre agents who had worked on the night of the emergency, she'd done it for 16 years, and she testified that she took the 911 call and that they played the entire call out in court. And she remarked that Thomas Martens seemed surprisingly calm throughout the near 14-minute conversation, and that although he had allegedly performed over 400 exhausting CPR chest compressions, because remember they can hear this in the background, while Molly shouted the count, he was not panting or gasping or out of breath when he returned to the phone.
Staying alive. You know the story. You know that Kate and I had a moment with the neighbour who had a heart attack?
No.
Do you remember I told you that?
No.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
This one time at band camp, we were mucking around in the shed and we heard this screaming. We ran around and our neighbour was having a heart attack and died. And it's okay. Kate saved his life.
Oh, wow.
But she did CPR, and I just dragged him off the couch and banged his head down and was like, "Shut up! It's the least of his problems."
Brain injury.
And she did the CPR. It was only a foot. She did the CPR on him, and I reckon the fireys arrived maybe no more than 5 or 7 minutes after we'd called 000. But she was like knackered, So to your point about how tiring it was, I spent the whole time, because he was foaming at the mouth because he had a heart attack.
You spent the whole time going,
I did. I spent the whole time going,
this is gross. This has really ruined my day.
Please don't tell me I have to do the mouth bit.
Gone.
But, I was gearing up for it thinking a man's dying, so I have to do it. But she's like, no, she's just done it, her training recently. She's like, no, you just do this. I thought, oh, thank God for that. Anyway, and he survived. Our neighbour survived. But it was exhausting.
Well, Jason Corbett very much did not survive.
And traumatic.
Yes. So Dr. Craig Nelson with the Medical Examiner's Office described to the court how he'd performed the post-examination. However, Corbett's skull was so badly shattered, he could not precisely say how many times he'd been struck. but
Even
estimated.
bothered
Why
with
did they
doing
go
CPR?
so hard, right?
But why would they even bother? Like, his head was smashed in.
Correct, they just kept going.
He's dead as a doornail. Why am I even doing CPR?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Estimate Corbett had suffered around 12 blows to the head, and that evidence suggested any 8 of the blows would have been sufficient to have rendered Jason unconscious, while 4 of these individually were enough to have killed him.
Fucking hell.
Autopsy reports also
so
indicated
bad.
Corbett had suffered blunt force trauma blows to his torso and arms.
Yeah, that's the wild swings of the bat.
Yes, and this is telling. When photographs of Corbett's head injuries were displayed in court, proceedings had to be briefly paused because one of the members was physically ill. Yeah, and had to leave the room.
God.
The sheriff's department, when they first officer to arrive at Corbett's house, described the jury how blood was splattered on the walls, floor, bed, hallway, and bedroom. He took photos of the crime scene on his cell phone, and after Corbett's body had been removed, he helped take the children outside to the car of Thomas Martin's wife. Nurse Katie Wingate Scott attested that she had prescribed trazodone to Molly in 50 milligram doses after she'd complained of not being able to get to sleep. Well, the pharmacist confirmed that it had been
half
filled.
a rest of it.
Yeah.
No, I don't think there's a rest.
No, that's what I'm saying. Though she could have just said to her, take half a rest of it. You'll sleep.
I swear
fine.
by it. What is it called? What's the drug called, Carla?
What's that, sorry?
What is the name of the drug that
it
you
is
saying?
called trazodone. Trazodone.
Trazodone.
Okay. Trazodone. Okay. Antidepressant, primarily used to treat major depressive disorder, insomnia, and anxiety. There you go.
Yep. So I told you before how his body temperature was much lower than expected, and there were no
he'd been dead for hours.
And when they took him out to put the ECG leads on, there were no electrical signals from the heart were detected.
No.
And at 3:24,
that's right.
They ceased efforts to revive him. The crime scene examiner, upon arriving, after taking pictures from all angles, Young could not find any evidence of injuries on Molly. However, he had to instruct Molly to stop rubbing and tugging on her neck while he took the images. David Dillard, a former police officer, added that while Molly was sitting in his patrol car after the incident, she also was rubbing her neck in a scrubbing motion. And although she was making crying noises, he did not observe any actual tears.
Yeah, crocodile. I've got to tell you, trazodone, whilst being for chronic insomnia and blah, blah, rest of it apparently, which is doxylamine, is actually stronger. How about that? But rest of it is meant for occasional use due to side effects, of which I don't know what they are.
I've never had any of those.
Haven't I given you a rest of it before? Yes,
you don't need
have.
to. I'm an Olympic sleeper, so I normally don't need it. I'm pretty
sure
good.
On the odd occasion I've given you one, or at least a quarter.
I don't think so. Maybe I didn't know you did.
I remember slipped you one when you weren't looking.
Maybe
anyway.
you probably would have. I probably would have taken it in the ghost days to get me to sleep. I don't know that. I would have
said, "Here, take this.
Yeah.
Just take this." Yeah.
I mentioned this as well before about the blood saturation in on the inside the mattress. So basically, the forensic scientists
did they beat him on the mattress?
This is what they said. The blood-stained pattern analysis of the crime scene testified the first blows inflicted on Corbett could have occurred while he was laying in bed because the blood splatters were found inside the quilt and blood saturation marks were discovered, which would make sense,
he was
right?
Standing at least.
I think
they've just he's been
drugged,
drugged him and just beaten the shit out of him.
The blood splatters on the wall indicate Corbett suffered multiple blows as he was falling. Remember I mentioned that the blood goes down, to the floor, while the direction of blood splatters discovered on the inside hem of Thomas Martin's boxer shorts, indicated Corbett's head was on the floor when those blows were struck.
Oh.
Dr. James also pointed out how
town.
I don't understand this. Blood drips on a vacuum cleaner defied the laws of physics by splattering sideways, which strongly suggested the crime scene had been altered before police arrived to photograph it.
So instead of running down, it was running sideways. So something had been moved. Right, got it.
Yeah.
They've just killed that, slaughtered that man.
Yes. Thomas Martin took to the stand in his own defence. Surprise, surprise. This guy comes across as
You
love him. He's your best friend.
There's something about him I really dislike.
Fucking hate.
He's a man who has murdered somebody, right? He's saying, yes, he might say that he did it in self-defense. But he's so comfortable with the fact that he's
taken
done
alive.
Yeah,
It's not the first time, I'm guessing.
Oh, I don't know. So he asserts that on the night in question, he was awakened by screaming and loud noises coming from Molly's bedroom. And when he entered the bedroom, Jason Corbett had his hands around his daughter's neck. Martens then struck him with a baseball bat, and after a brief struggle, Corbett ended up on the bedroom floor where Martens kept hitting
Clarkie's doing
on the head for his life, as
wanky.
if
No, he's not doing it as if he's doing wank hands. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Would you call him a wanker or just a?
Was he doing
just
that while he was
bullshit.
talking? It's just.
I just weird. He's like,
It's
Martens
awful to
added that
listen
he
to.
did not retreat from the bedroom as he was convinced Molly would have been killed. It's like, what, after you've already done that to him? I don't think so.
Well, he's, 4 killer blows and 8 unconscious ones. He's gone nowhere after 2 of those blows.
Yeah, and by the way, she went to town on him with a brick. So it's not just the baseball bat.
It gets worse. This is going to really work. This is going to upset you massively, Schmitty. I know this. Martens also admitted that he disliked his son-in-law, highlighting an incident in the run-up to Corbett's wedding where some of Jason's friends had allegedly been drinking, smoking and using bad language in his house.
No. Using bad language?
I mean...
Fuck me.
Disgraceful.
I mean, the amount of smoking, drinking and bad language that went on in my house in Frome, a great time was had by all. Just sanctimonious bullshit. It's just, but it's okay to go and beat someone to death, drug them and beat them to death. But don't smoke and don't use foul language and don't, drink. But it's all right to kill someone. Yes, you were right, Swanny. You're right. That has upset me.
Set you off. So in closing arguments, addressing the jury, the Assistant DA, Greg Brown, said that Molly Martens had ample motives to have her husband killed, highlighting how she would inherit the marital home and its contents, a $600,000 life insurance policy payout, and most importantly to her, the custody of Corbett's children. Brown reminded the jury that Corbett had consistently refused to sign adoption papers, granting Molly equal rights to Jack and Sarah prior to his death, and how he had in fact planned to return to Ireland without her.
How dare he want to retain custody of his own children and he's get him away from the psycho wife.
The fact that Thomas Martens' hands had no blood on them when paramedics arrived, despite claiming he had performed CPR on Jason's blood-soaked chest, coupled with the fact that Corbett's body had an unusually low temperature when examined in the ambulance, indicate the 911 call was not made immediately.
No.
As claimed by the
He's
defendants.
had a good wash.
And the CPR was faked over the phone, with the insinuation they had waited.
I don't know why the vacuum got moved, but the vacuum got moved.
Yeah. The defence lawyer countered the authorities had not taken samples from under the fingernails, and the redness of Molly's neck was not explained.
I think it was.
Molly had nothing to gain.
These ones?
Yeah.
Scratchy, scratchy, scratchy in the back of the police car. I think it was.
It's like a Chinese burn. They'll think I've been strangled.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Oh, I'm so upset.
How bad does it look now?
Yeah.
No, you got to keep going.
Have I got a mark yet?
I probably would give myself a mark just by doing that. Anyway.
Chinese burn. You're absolutely right. Called it correctly.
The defence lawyer,
chink in the armour, Chinese burn,
implored the jury to consider the circumstance of Corbett's death, highlighting how Jason had drunk several beers and was a larger man than Thomas Martens. The defence team also asserted that the prosecution had failed to illustrate an element of malice, a fundamental component in proving second-degree murder in the state of North Carolina.
Honestly, shut up, defence team, you're shit.
Yeah. On the 9th of August 2017, after less than 4 hours of jury deliberation, Thomas Martens and his daughter Molly, she was 33 by this point, if you're interested, were unanimously found guilty of second-degree murder of Jason Corbett. Please don't get too excited.
Well done. Oh,
do not get too excited. Both were sentenced.
Well done,
I know you want this to be over, but we're not quite there.
No, I just thought the jury made the right call.
Yes, they have. They were both sentenced to a minimum of 20 with maximum 25 years in prison.
And then
someone appealed and it was all overturned.
They totally were like, they did not, they were interviewed the jurors afterwards. They were like, we did not believe Corbett had attacked Molly at all on the night in question. And the sheer number of blows inflicted on him ruled out any motive of self-defense. It was just,
murder.
They found Molly Martin to be very manipulative.
No.
And they could tell the fact that he was planning to return was what was really triggering everything.
Yep.
So this whole idea of there being any domestic violence or whatever else was her saying, he was going to kill me and I thought, I'll leave them here and then, I just don't know if I'm going to survive. And what I didn't say to you was 9 months, I think it was, after the children had left and gone to Ireland, they rescinded or recanted, I think you say, on all the things that they'd said. They were interviewed
totally
and said,
coached.
we did not do that.
Yeah.
We never saw our dad do any of this kind of stuff. And Molly told us this, and Molly told us
to say that, and we did.
Otherwise they'll take you away from me, because they didn't want to leave, right? They didn't want to leave her initially.
It's a
that she was their
place.
mum.
They were happy, and
with
that was
her.
what they knew.
They didn't. She was their mum.
You did say at the time, when you were telling us about the kids, and I said, Molly told them to do it.
That's kind of important.
But you didn't acknowledge.
Sorry, I should have put, because I saw that and I was going
to
foreshadow. Yes, but they had to, and that is important because it comes back to haunt them. So on March 12th, 2021, so remember the crime was back in 2015, the other stuff happened in 2017, the North Carolina Supreme Court ruled a 4-3 majority that Molly Martens and her father, Thomas Martin, must be granted a new trial for the death of Jason Corbett, asserting that the North Carolina Court of Appeals was correct to quash their convictions on the grounds that certain statements made by Corbett's children to investigating officers in the aftermath of his death were wrongly excluded. So they hadn't included them from being used by defense lawyers during their original trial in 2017.
Just bullshit.
The kids are
even though the kids had said they
subsequently said that.
So
was
in
all
response,
bullshit.
Jack and Sarah Corbett expressed willingness to testify against the Martenses in the event their previous statements would be relied on by the defense lawyer. So I'll try and make this kind of brief, because it then
but how
is
awful is
more
it,
years.
though?
Yes.
But for those children, their dad's died. Their mum says they'll take you away. You have to say that he did these things. They're small children, so they'd say those things. And then what are we 10 years down the track?
Well, now we're in October 2023, and Jack is now 19 and Sarah's 17.
And they're like, that never actually happened. And now they have to testify against a woman that they thought was like their mother figure.
Yes.
How horrendous. God.
So the appeal was made in 21, and then in October of 2023, Molly Martens and Thomas Martens both accepted plea bargains at the Davidson County Superior Court of charges of Class D manslaughter in return for District Attorney agreeing to drop murder charges against them. In early November 2023, Molly pled no contest to a reduced charge of voluntary manslaughter, while Thomas pled guilty to the same charge. And on the 9th of November 2023, both were sentenced to between 51 and 74 months in prison. Due to time already served.
Time already served.
No,
God.
it was expected both defendants would only serve an additional 7 months. And they were actually released in June of 2024.
There are people who go to jail who are innocent and they get life sentences and they never get out. And these people, I'm pretty confident, are quite guilty and they're out. Just there's something terribly wrong with this system.
When it's that obvious that they're unreliable historians.
She's a truth stretcher for sure, and he's a man in black. FBI
He's a
agent.
massively unreliable historian.
So in June 2024, Molly and Thomas are released from prison after completing their sentences for voluntary manslaughter.
And they're out.
In response to Martin's release from prison, both the sheriff, the county sheriff, said that they basically got away with a slap on the wrist.
I think they got mates
He
rates.
believed the Martins
So
we spent
how
enough
long were
money
they
on
in for?
appeals until I tried to work it out, but
6-7 years?
That was about it, yeah.
Was it 15 to 2024?
Well, 15, 17 was when I think 17 and 24, yeah. Jason Corbett's daughter, Sarah, also released a statement expressing disappointment regarding the Martins' release, asserting that if they had instead faced a retrial, she was confident they would have been found guilty by their acceptance of the plea deal. So that's the killing of Jason Corbett. There was one article that I found which was just from last year, and it was in the Irish Times, and it was titled "How an Anonymous Phone Call Helped Convict Molly and Tom Martens of Jason Corbett's Killing." And apparently someone had written a book, but there's over 10,000 pages of new release documentation that shed light on detectives' efforts to prosecute them. But it all comes down, this particular article is about a phone call that's made from the FBI headquarters in Tennessee, where Tom Martens had worked. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It goes on to say that, he was a classic type A personality, calm and unemotional, driven by rules and facts, and yet he did certain things in this that were spontaneous, which would suggest he wasn't spontaneous at all. Right, so the anonymous call. The detective received a call at 6:50 on Friday, August 14th, 2015. So this is literally a couple of weeks after the murder. It was the same day Molly was in court testifying for guardianship. The caller told Detective Hannah it would not be good for me in Tennessee if he revealed his identity, but he encouraged detectives to look at Tom's phone records. He said the Martens were lying about their impromptu visit to Molly. In fact, Tom had dinner plans that evening with his boss, Selin Warnell, who was a former CIA station chief in Tokyo and Seoul before becoming the head of counterintelligence at Oak Ridge. Maybe I said he was in the FBI. Maybe he was in the CIA. Maybe I've got that confused.
Fuck, he's even more of a man in black if he's a CIA.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure. I can't remember which one it was. I get the two confused, which is probably not a very good thing. But being Australian, CIA and FBI, sorry about that. I wonder.
ASIO, Federal
say
Police.
what he was.
Sure.
Can somebody Google whether he was FBI or CIA?
What was his name? Tom Martens.
Tom Martens, yeah.
I'll do it.
Anyway,
okay.
Besides the fact, we know he's in the bits. So he says, it wouldn't be good for me. And he says, look at their phone records. And he says, look, the day that he's gone down there, he was actually supposed to be having a meeting with someone who's super important in counterintelligence.
No, it's FBI.
It was FBI, good. The caller told Hannah that Tom had cancelled dinner plans and sought Monday off work due to an issue with Molly. The caller advised Detective Hannah to interview all Tom's 12 colleagues in the counterintelligence unit. The male subject on the phone asked if I was aware that Mr. Martens hated his son-in-law. The male stated that Mr. Martens made comments to his co-workers about hating his son-in-law. Detectives suspected Molly had found out Jason was leaving, panicked, and summoned her parents. The anonymous tip-off only underscored their suspicions. So they learned that he hated him, that he referred to him as that son of a bitch son-in-law and an asshole. One former FBI agent told detectives that Tom was manipulative, calculative, and a planner and used things and people to his own advantage. And it was very odd for Tom to cancel dinner with Warnell because Tom was not spontaneous at all.
Does that give the malice that they were looking for earlier?
I think so. I think they've
feels like it does.
I've seen something else in Malice where they showed like some of the scene of the crime to suggest that there was malice. Well,
I'm ready to get to some malice.
So to the phone calls, just because I find this quite telling as well. Armed with these insight, detectives executed search warrants for Tom, Sharon, she was the wife, Molly and Jason's phone records in the days immediately before and after the killing. These records heightened the detective's suspicions. Molly had 20 calls on her mobile phone on August the 1st, so that's the day before the, August 2nd, the 3 a.m. phone call when they've murdered him, beginning with a 2:21 call from Tom. 15 minutes later, Tom made the first of four calls to Jason, but Jason did not answer. On the fourth call, Tom was forwarded to Jason's messaging service and he left a 37-second message. While Tom was trying to reach Jason, Molly had a 2-minute call with Sharon, but they wondered what did Molly tell her parents that Saturday to prompt the change in dinner plans and incite Tom to call Jason, the son-in-law he hated. About an hour later, the Martens had set off for North Carolina. During the journey, there were 11 calls between Sharon and Molly, because I'm guessing Dad's driving. Sharon...
How long does it take to go from...
It was 4.5 hours, I think, the drive. Not just pop over.
I tell you what, if I'd had a relationship issue and I rang my parents and said, Mum and Dad, this is what's happening, you know what my mum and dad would have said? Deal with it. Shut up.
What, I've got to go and use a paving stone the paving stone never told you why it was in a room. It was because she was doing an activity with the children and they were painting them. Don't know why one was in a bedroom. They must have forgotten
in
that
the
one.
room,
Why is there
I doubt you're
brick
painting in
the
your bedroom. Anyway, the last thing I want to say was Jason's phone, laptop and home computer were all mysteriously missing from the crime scene and were never found. The detectives never discovered the content of the 37-second message to Jason either. And that is
would be
of Jason Corbett.
I'm coming here to kill you.
Well, yeah.
And poor Jason was already drugged by then, so it's like I'm asleep.
He's over there.
Wasn't arrested of it, but it was pretty good.
Yeah. And they did things that when they were trying to prove that they were saying that, he was abused or whatever else, the mother in-law, Sharon, who slept through everything,
Shaz,
she had written on the bottom
Sleepy
of, she had
Shaz.
written on the bottom of like vases and stuff in the kids' bedroom her phone number in case the kids ever needed to call her an emergency so that Jason wouldn't see it. And yet on the night when it all was going down, if she was that worried, she never told anybody that her son-in-law was abusive. She heard the screaming and then went, oh, okay, I went back to sleep. So it doesn't really quite add up, does it?
It does not add up. They
Yes.
murdered him in cold blood.
Yes. But it's so funny. So this goes back to why I was never interested in this story, was because of the images that I'd seen. I kept thinking, what's this fella doing with this young blonde bird, who's clearly the au pair and whatever else. And I just sort of thought, I'm just not that interested. And so
But it was the other way
it was
around.
quite interesting when you start looking into it. It's like she had, there's a high probability that given that she knew he was a widower and these two little baby children kind of thing, he was perfect
That's
for what
very
she
sad.
wanted. Yeah.
Very sad. I'm going to do something I wouldn't normally do, but I just feel like they've got away with something really horrendous. And it's not just killing poor Jason, but it's taking the sole parent
Yes.
for the
The
two kids.
Correct. These kids' lives, they're orphans. They've lost their mum and their dad.
They lost their mum and their dad, but they
That's
lost
such
their
a
mum when they were
horrific
so
way.
young, and then they had this sort of like stability issue, and then they destabilized on this person who was then orchestrated the death of their father and then told them to lie about it. So I'm going to do something really horrendous. I'm going to, God, I almost can't say it, but having
Go on.
now
You can do it.
having now personally lived through people who have lived and died from this, I'm going to give them cancer because it's awful and it's painful and it's a one-way street and it takes some time, not necessarily like years. Sometimes it could be quick, but I want them to have cancer and I want them to know they have cancer so that they can face the decisions they've made to make peace with the fact that they have a mortality, because they're acting like they can bring about someone's mortality, but they're not thinking about the impact on their own mortality. That feels very heavy for me, but these people are absolute flogs, arseholes. See you next Tuesdays.
Okay.
That's horrendous.
This plays nicely into something that I mentioned at the beginning that I really didn't enjoy is not the right word, but I was very frustrated. I was very frustrated by the documentary, because the documentary has been made, it was released last year, and it has interviews with Tom and Molly. Disgusting. Alongside interviews with, Sarah, Jack, the sister-in-law.
Real people.
And where I came out at the end I was like, what? These people, I felt like they've been given a platform to make themselves feel better and heard. And there's one bit where Tom, he's like, my daughter was this, my daughter was that. And he goes, we're not liars. And if you think we are, you come and you prove it. Because as if to say you can't prove it. Like, he has this arrogance about him that I'm not comfortable with him having had that platform. And there's so much stuff that I've read that was not covered in that documentary that I kind of left thinking, what? Don't watch it is what I'm saying. Don't watch it, because although you get to see Jack and Sarah, they have suffered so much. The boy in particular, being that little bit older, and because their words were used against them, they not only feel that they were responsible for
betrayed their father.
Correct. And it's all that stuff that afterwards I thought, what have I watched? I feel gross. Sometimes I get quite excited. Sorry, sound like bloody Kath and Kim.
Excited.
I get quite excited about having something to come and share with you. But this was not like that. This was like, I feel like I've watched something that
makes you feel a bit dirtier.
It did. I just felt wrong for having listened to it. And I was like, oh God. Normally it's so fabulous. You get these sort of different perspectives and what they're saying, but there's something about the pair of them. It's not disputed that they killed him in such a horrendous fashion. They're trying to present it as self-defense, but you would think that they were actually disproving that there was a murder at all. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's like, hang on a tick. You were the pair who did this. You were the pair who did this. Can you just deal with that at least? Zero remorse.
It's so awful. Yeah. Anyway, sentences, you two.
If I was going to sentence anyone, I think I would park Molly because I don't want to do that. It's the dad. It's the dad for me that I really think that you could
Really?
do something with this
surprised.
man. Sorry, he's really...
You've hated him from day one.
I just think, who the fuck do you think you are? You really do think you are superior in every way to everybody that you came across? Oh, no, he'd think he's far smarter than that. It's a much more like...
He probably is
a calmness.
in fairness.
Well, I know the law. I know this. I've studied this. I taught it. And there was footage of him. They were saying he was somebody who used to teach people how to counter-terror. What's it called? Like when you're being
past
tortured.
lie detectors.
Yes, if you're being tortured or how to be interviewed and how to...
If you're being interrogated.
Interrogated, that's the word I'm after. Thank you. He thought in this whole thing that his connections, his money, his background, his education, his standing, everything would still hold him in good stead. And there are times when they're out with the family and they now he's got his life. And as she was saying, I felt so bad because I thought, this is going to be, my dad's going to die in prison. It's like, your dad deserved to die in prison. And, they've got their sort of life back and their friends and whatever else. And they're, back to their barbecuing, probably whatever else.
It's disgusting,
and I just
isn't
think,
it?
wow, the only thing you could take away from a man like that is, the way people see him and, he thinks he's so respected. So he ends up with nothing. And then it was totally exposed as a total fraud. I mean, who wants somebody like that working in any government agency on behalf of your country? He's vile.
I mean, I think you're right. I don't care for Tom at all. There's nothing nice about the bloke. I mean, he could just be someone who, you bury alive or something where he can just sit there completely powerless to just die in his own silence.
Yes.
She's engaged her dad, who she knows is a fucking idiot, surely.
Dad would have gone, no, I'm not going to do that.
Right? No, you want me to kill him because he wants to leave you and take the kids back to Ireland? That's not worthy. No, that's not the reason. She is a shit bloke, like massively, yeah. I think, because if she thinks that's an appropriate way to deal with the issues she's having in her life, that is horrible. And I don't know what happens in the manosphere because
I was going to say the manosphere has to recognize it.
No, you're about to find out.
Well, I'm going to sentence her to the manosphere.
Yep.
Where she will be, but she'll be mistreated by men for the rest of her life because of what she's done to somebody.
Maybe she is someone we could sentence the manosphere to, though, as well, because the manosphere say, we want a trad wife, we want someone who does all this stuff. Well, be careful what you wish for, my friends, because they might bludgeon you to death at some point.
Well, the thing is, this is her punishment, not theirs. Maybe that can come later.
Can we just hang on to her as a punishment for the manosphere at some point in our future?
Because I think she's been the problem, and then she calls in help to solve her problem that she's caused.
And you hate it when someone calls in help.
I can't stand it. So what she needs is to have nobody that she can call for help and be mistreated and wish that she had daddy back to help her. Because I don't think for a second Jason mistreated her. I don't think any of what he did warranted anything near the response that he got. I think it was all her and her.
Yeah.
That poor bastard. Like even when you were saying about secret recordings where she's trying to say this and make him sound bad, and he didn't sound bad. He was like, you're being crazy.
Sounded like he was fucking, he sounded like, what I'd sound
frustrated.
This
is ridiculous.
I asked you to do one bloody thing. And then, of course, some other kids come down and goes, go upstairs. Like I would speak to go upstairs. Like we're having an adult conversation.
Yeah, you don't need to see this.
Oh, don't say it to them. Like
no, stay here.
Yeah, because she's doing that to make it all sound like he's being violent. Yeah. Oh God.
Right. There we go.
Right. Well, Swanny, thank you for bringing that one.
Yeah.
Another sad story of domestic abuse of a different nature. Often it's against a woman, and it's, as Clarkie likes to remind us, sometimes the women are the biggest in the room. You're right.
I mean, it's probably not my words, but, I
Not
just
a
think shit
co-host, of
people,
course.
shit people are shit people regardless of gender.
Correct.
Gender. True. Good job, as we say. And as we say every week, miss you already.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao. Thanks for listening to Trial by Wine. You can contact us at trialbywine@gmail.com. Please rate, review and subscribe to Trial by Wine on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support us, you can become a patron at www.patreon.com, Trial by Wine, or visit our website www.trialbywine.com to donate to us. Your support will help us cover many more cases and apply wacky sentences. We really appreciate you listening and hope you tell everyone about us. Our cover art is by John Christo and music is by Beauchamp from pixabay.com.